More and more young people are reaching a breaking point, and it's fueled by a cocktail of things like school bullying, intense academic pressure, and a society that often feels impossible to navigate. The result? Emotional breakdowns. A growing number of these young individuals are being diagnosed with something called intermittent explosive disorder, or IED. Basically, it's a mental health condition that makes them incredibly prone to sudden, uncontrollable bursts of anger. And when that anger hits, it can lead to terrifying acts, assaults, even murder, and disturbingly, even violence towards animals. Our main character is Lee-do. He's a former soldier and now works as a special investigator. He's the strong, silent type, a man of few words, a real introvert. But his eyes, they're always sharp, like he's constantly scanning for danger. And no matter the situation, he's always got this ice-cold calm about him. One morning, while conducting his usual patrol, Lee-do comes across a minor car accident in the city center. He pulls over, checks on the drivers to see if they're okay, and advises them to call their insurance companies and move the cars off the road to avoid causing a traffic jam. As he helps pick up some scattered belongings, he notices something. The woman who rear-ended the Kia is a nurse. She just finished a night shift and clearly dozed off at the wheel on her way home. Lee-do, being the reasonable guy that he is, gently suggests she call a ride to take the car home safely. Meanwhile, on the subway, the scene shifts to a completely different kind of tension. A middle-aged guy, a joshi is what we call them in Korea, is walking through the train car holding a novelty lighter shaped like a gun. He's trying to sell it to the other passengers. Two Western women spot the lighter and totally freak out, probably thinking it's real. The ajoshi laughs, finding it hilarious that such a small, fake gun could cause so much panic. Now, sitting across from them is a young man named Jong T. He couldn't care less about the lighter. He glances over at the row of seats opposite him and sees a heavy-set man sprawled out on a priority seat, clearly meant for elderly, pregnant, or disabled individuals, while a visibly pregnant woman is standing right next to him. Without hesitating, Jong T walks over and demands that the man give up his seat. Instead of apologizing or moving, the man stubbornly refuses and starts arguing. The pregnant woman, clearly wanting to avoid a scene, tries to stop Jong T, saying she's getting off at the next stop and doesn't need the seat. Jong T just stands there, stunned and frustrated. As she exits the train, he heads straight to his English class. As soon as he walks in, he gets scolded by the teacher for being late. He completely ignores her, reaches into his bag, pulls out a gun, and starts firing at his classmates. Chaos erupts. The classroom fills with the deafening sound of gunfire, blood splatters everywhere, and students fall to the ground in sheer terror. But then, everything fades away. The gruesome scene was just a violent fantasy, a mental eruption triggered by Jong T's intermittent explosive disorder. He never did it. Later, he's talking to his doctor about the constant internal battle raging inside him, the never-ending conflict between his impulses and his reason. He admits that he's stopped taking his medication. He explains that the pills make him too drowsy to study, and if he fails this exam again, it'll be the 10th time he's failed. The doctor gently advises him to find ways to manage his emotions, to make sure his heart doesn't overpower his head. That's the key to staying in control. In a dingy boarding house, a completely different drama is unfolding. The landlady is furiously banging on the door of one of the apartments, threatening to break it down. The tenant hasn't paid rent in 10 months. She can't reach him by phone, so she forces her way inside. The stench hits her like a wall. She initially thinks it's just garbage, but then she sees it. The tenant has hanged himself. The horror is so overwhelming that she can't help but scream. So the cops arrive at the scene. At first glance, it looks like a standard self-destruction. No signs of forced entry, no indication of foul play. When they check the victim's pockets, they find something that throws everything into question. A rifle bullet. And get this, rifles are virtually unheard of in South Korea. This isn't your average self-destruction. The team immediately calls in Lee-do for backup. Lee-do arrives and starts his own examination. He's methodical, observant. He spots a patch on the ceiling, hastily covered with duct tape. He peels it back, and bam! Hundreds of bullets rain down, scattering across the room. Everyone just freezes, staring in disbelief. This just went from self-destruction to something way bigger. That afternoon, back in his cramped Gashawon, that's like a tiny, super cheap apartment, Jong T is trying to study for his upcoming exams, but he can't concentrate. The couple next door is getting very intimate, and the sounds are making it impossible for him to focus. You know, the kind of sounds that make you want to bang on the wall. Later that night, Lee Do gets back from a drinking session with the precinct chief. He stares at the photo of the bullets they found, and his face is etched with sadness. The sight of those bullets triggers a flood of memories from his time on the battlefield. He remembers the constant explosions, the cries for help echoing all around him. But the orders from his superiors forced him to retreat, leaving his comrades behind to die. That horrific memory still haunts him to this day. The next morning at the police station, the precinct chief is praising a new recruit for his outstanding academic record. Naturally, Lee Do is assigned to train him. On their way to a call, the chatty young rookie just won't stop asking questions. It's actually so much that it gets a small, rare smile out of Lee Do. They come across an older woman protesting in the street. Even though she's been told not to, she insists she's not doing anything wrong. Lee Do approaches her and gently explains that a one-person protest is perfectly legal and protected. He even tells her to call him if anyone gives her trouble. The rookie is surprised, saying Lee Do is being too soft. Lee Do calmly replies, her son used to do a dangerous job, earning only a third of what others make, and he died in an accident without even an apology. Our job is to help them understand their rights. Back at the Gashawan, Jong T is about to eat his lunch when he notices that someone has messed with the box of sardines he keeps in the shared refrigerator. He knocks on the manager's door to complain, but the manager is completely dismissive, not even bothering to listen to Jong T. Frustrated, Jong T changes the subject and complains about the sounds coming from room 308. He swears the guy in there is sneaking in a girlfriend and they are getting it on loudly. The manager, instead of addressing the problem, accuses Jong T of hiding the fun and not inviting him to join. Jong T explodes, pointing out that there are rules in the Gashawan, but no one seems to follow them. The manager gets annoyed and starts insulting him, saying, "You're studying so much you're turning into a crazy person with a victim complex." Then he shoves Jong T out the door. On his way back to his room, Jong T sees the tattooed guy smoking in the hallway. He reminds him about the no-smoking policy, and the tattooed guy punches him a few times. Jong T just yelps and runs away. Enraged, he returns to his room, and his intermittent explosive disorder is triggered. Losing control, he pulls out the gun from under his bed, aims it at the wall where the tattooed guy is sitting, wanting to kill him for insulting and hurting him. But somehow, he manages to control his anger and stop himself just in time. At the same time, a female employee is visiting Mrs. Park's house for a routine water purifier maintenance check. But only Mrs. Park's son is home, fiddling with the machine. She accidentally spots an electronic monitoring bracelet on his ankle, the kind they put on sex offenders. That's a major red flag, and she completely freaks out. She quickly gathers her tools and tries to leave. As he steps out of the kitchen, about to walk out the door, she sees him blocking the exit, closing the door behind her. He's definitely got bad intentions. Panicked and not knowing what to do, she's saved when Lee Do and his partner arrive to investigate an alert from the bracelet. She breathes a sigh of relief and gets the heck out of there. Lee Do follows the employee out to her car and tells her to be careful, advising her to look up sex offenders' names before going into houses alone. After she leaves, he and his partner check out the area around Won Song's house. While his partner is distracted by something, Won Song sneaks up behind him, ready to send him to the afterlife. Luckily, Lee Do appears just in time, stops him, and knocks him to the ground. Foiled again, the guy goes ballistic, screaming about his human rights and how being constantly monitored by the police makes him feel suffocated. "I can't take it anymore," he yells. Lee Do calmly explains that he's only wearing the monitoring bracelet precisely because they respect his human rights. It allows him to be free within certain limits. Won Song is just left fuming and yelling even louder. After they leave, the rookie officer feels bad and apologizes to Lee Do. Lee Do gently reminds Officer Jang to always treat victims with compassion and to use the law on criminals. Then, teasing him, he tells him not just to remember it, but to print it out in a nice font and size, too. That night, back at the Gashawan, Jong T is diligently studying, but the sounds from the couple in room 308 are driving him crazy again. He snaps and, without hesitation, he points the gun at the wall next to him and pulls the trigger. Fueled by anger, Jong T shoots his neighbor in the head, sending him straight to hell. Hearing the loud gunshots, the tattooed guy gets angry and yells. But unluckily, he falls into Jong T's sights. Jong T continuously reloads and fires his weapon as if he's sweeping across a battlefield, sending the rest of the residents of the boarding house into the afterlife. All the tenants transformed into corpses lying everywhere in pools of blood. The Gashawan turned into a mass shooting. When Captain Lee Doo's team arrives on the scene, a police officer has already been shot. Without hesitation, Lee Doo signals for everyone to hold their positions. He silently enters the boarding house alone to scout the situation. Inside, Jong T is frantically searching each room, holding the gun at the ready, rambling curse words like a madman. Each gunshot echoes through the dark, cramped space where someone died. Seeing that the situation is spiraling out of control, Lee Doo retreats, quickly devising a plan of action. He cuts the power to the entire boarding house and then enters alone as bait to draw the gunman's attention and create an opportunity to rescue any survivors. As Jong T follows the flickering light and gets close to where Lee Doo is hiding, he suddenly spots Officer Jang secretly escorting civilians out of the building. The situation just exploded. Another scream, another gunshot. Officer Jang takes a bullet to the arm and collapses. Jong T raises his gun to finish him off when, out of nowhere, Lee Doo dives in. Without a word of warning, he grabs Jong T's face and slams his head against a wall with so much force that the madman is instantly knocked unconscious. His team rushes in and takes Jong T into custody. That was close. Jong T is taken to the hospital to await interrogation. Lee Doo returns to the scene of the crime and starts searching Jong T's room. Something doesn't feel right. Lee Doo flips over the bed. Underneath, he discovers components for multiple, strange-looking firearms. As a former military sharpshooter, it doesn't take him long to realize these are weapons that have been used in overseas wars and never should have made it into South Korea. But here's the detail that sends chills down his spine. These weapons are linked to the earlier self-destruction case. The bullet that was found matches perfectly. This is now a much bigger, wider case. The police chief, after hearing the report, immediately orders everyone to keep the information under wraps. This is no longer a simple case of a madman on a rampage. Jong T, meanwhile, is casually eating a meal in the psychiatric hospital. When asked about the massacre, he only agrees to talk if Lee Doo is the one doing the asking. In the interrogation room, Lee Doo asks Jong T why he specifically requested him. Jong T replies that during his violent outburst, he wasn't aware of anything. But when Lee Doo slammed him against the wall, he knew this was a real person. Jong T reveals that all the guns he received came through package delivery services. At first, I just wanted to get a decent gun, but then someone started sending me these terrifying things. He explains that he felt that he was justified in killing the other residents because they were evil. Lee Doo asks if he feels any guilt for killing so many people. Jong T grinds his teeth, his eyes ice cold, showing no remorse. He says they deserved it, and that he's only punishing the guilty, just like Lee Doo does. Jong T also reveals that there are many other people out there with guns, too. This leads Lee Doo to suspect that someone is pulling the strings from behind the scenes, and he vows to find out who. Leaving the police station, the reporters swarm him, desperate for information. One reporter in particular, named Wong, is aggressive. He blocks the captain's path and demands information about the boxes containing the guns, boxes that Wong inadvertently photographed. He threatens that if the captain doesn't give him the information, he'll publish a story based on those photos. Furious, the captain warns him to go ahead and write it, and he'll regret it. At a school, a group of top students are bullying Eugene, demanding that he take more explicit pictures of girls to sell, so they can make money to buy a car. Won Song is shopping in a supermarket when he overhears nasty comments and insults from the neighborhood women. He explodes, snapping, "What did I do wrong? I just came to buy some groceries, and you're all looking at me like I'm scum." Returning home, he finds a package waiting for him, addressed to his mother. He's found it. He opens the package and it's filled with gun parts. Won Song goes absolutely crazy with joy and immediately starts piecing them together. He has a new toy to play with. That night, Jong Man and his crew, after cleaning up the mess left by Sukho's men, take director Kim to a remote area, ready to bury him alive. As they're about to send him to meet his ancestors 6 feet under, Kim makes them an offer. "I'll give you secret information about Sukho. I know how to get you guns and put you in charge of the whole organization." One of the guys says that sharing one gun isn't going to solve anything, but Kim insists there are plenty of guns to help them. Just then, Sukho calls to check if the job's done. When he learns that Sukho will let him take over the facility Kim previously ran, Jong Man doesn't hesitate. He gives Kim a shovel, right to the head. He's gone. The next morning, unable to wait any longer, Won Song heads to a military firing range to test his new weapon. Taking advantage of the sound of gunfire from the range, he gleefully pulls the trigger, firing shot after shot. A ruthless ambition is now growing inside him. After finishing their work, Jong Man's crew immediately reports back to Suk-ho, asking about the deal he promised. But Suk-ho double-crosses them, calling them animals and telling them to be patient and wait their turn. Jong Man is pissed. Leaving the facility, Jong Man orders his men to revisit the Gashawon massacre site to gather more information. Yute will go with him. They set out to find Director Kim's car. Meanwhile, at school, Eugene receives a message from the head bully, demanding that he bring his mother's ID to the nightclub. He will use the ID to take out a loan. Eugene goes to his mother's shop, intending to trick her into giving him her ID, but his conscience stops him. He takes 50,000 won from his mother's purse and goes to the nightclub to find the bullies. Because he couldn't bring the ID, they beat him mercilessly. They need his mother's ID to take out a high-interest loan. Eugene begs, saying his mother has already suffered enough and promises to take more explicit photos. The cruel bully continues to beat him, saying his mother's suffering has nothing to do with him, and demands that Eugene bring the ID tomorrow. Jong Man and his henchman, Yute, find Director Kim's car in a parking garage. After searching it, they're shocked to discover a real gun in the trunk. Yute gets scared, trying to stop Jong Man from getting involved, but Jong Man's frustration has reached its peak. He's determined not to let his men continue to live like this. He picks up the gun, contemplating his next move, while Yute is terrified, unable to believe what's happening. Still grappling with the recent cases, Lee Do searches for more clues. According to Jong Tae's testimony, the guns were sent through package delivery, so he checked the packages that were sent to the Gashawon, but he still didn't find any useful information. Frustrated, he's about to give up when he sees Jong Man's men rummaging through cardboard boxes. He asks them what they're doing, and they say they're just collecting cardboard to sell for scrap money. They quickly leave. Thinking he might find something, Lee Do decides to take a look himself. While sorting through the trash, the precinct chief calls, saying that they checked Jong Tae's transaction history, and not only is there no record of any transactions, but there's no record of any packages being delivered to him either. Ghost guns for a ghost man. About to leave, Lee Do finds a box with a shipping label addressed to Jong Tae. The address looks familiar. He racks his brain, then realizes he saw a similar box at the house of sex offender Won-song. He immediately contacts his partner and learns that his partner is also tracking Won-song, but when they pulled over his taxi, they only found his monitoring bracelet and cell phone. Won-song got out of the car a short distance back. Damn it! Getting the information, Lee Do hangs up and races to Won-song's house to investigate. He catches Moon Beck inside, rifling through things. Lee Do asks him what he's doing, and Moon Beck says he came to pick up a package. Lee Do pressures him, asking if he came here to find guns, but Moon Beck tries to change the subject, saying Lee Do, as a cop, shouldn't be jumping to conclusions. Losing his patience, Lee Do demands that he tell the truth. Moon Beck explains that he received a package containing bullets and a meticulously organized list of information. Curiosity got the better of him, so he came here. He was too scared to go inside, so he lingered around. Then he saw the homeowner rushing out of the house without even closing the door, so he went inside, opened the box, and got caught. Hearing Moon Beck's story, he quickly calls his partner, who confirms that Won-song abandoned his phone and monitoring device and fled. His partner also reports that there were no guns left in the taxi. Hanging up, Lee Do asks to check the security cameras. But then, someone suddenly approaches Won-song's house. Realizing there's a problem, Moon Beck offers to help Lee Do. The chase begins. During the intense pursuit, Moon Beck takes a shortcut, cuts him off, and knocks him down with one hit. It turns out, it's not Won-song, but Jong Man's henchman, Yute. While confused about who he just caught, Lee Do gets a call from his partner, reporting that they found Won-song at a restaurant 3 kilometers away. As he's trying to figure out how to get there, Moon Beck pulls out his trump card, offering to drive Lee Do in his car. Without hesitation, he ties up Yute and calls Officer Jang to the location, ordering him to bring Yute in for questioning. He and Moon Beck, following the precinct chief's directions, are on the trail of Won-song. Moon Beck is super enthusiastic, excited to be helping catch a criminal for the first time, and showing off his amazing driving skills to impress the cop. As they get close to Won-song's hideout, Moon Beck asks, "Is it okay with just the two of us? Right now, you and I are a team," Lee Do says sternly. "Focus on driving seriously." Won-song is making his way through narrow, winding streets, but he can't shake Moon Beck. The trail leads to a plaza and then disappears. Li Du suspects he's headed for the police station and asks the security chief to keep an eye out. However, he vanishes on the way to the police station. He quickly calls the precinct chief, warning him to be on guard, because he might be coming to take revenge on the police station. However, the precinct chief does a security sweep and doesn't find anything suspicious. Li Du and the precinct chief meet in the courtyard and are discussing the situation when they hear gunshots coming from inside the station. Rushing inside, they find that Won Song has already taken out 3 officers. It's a massacre. Won Song, hearing people coming, is happy that all the people he wanted to kill today are finally here. The precinct chief tells Won Song to stop, saying that what he's doing is only going to make things worse. Won Song scoffs, saying the situation is already huge and there's no turning back now. Li Du takes the initiative and fires first, distracting Won Song and allowing him to get the precinct chief to safety. He asks the precinct chief where the guns they found at the Gashawan are being stored, but the precinct chief says those guns are useless because they don't have any ammunition. Li Du confidently says he has ammunition. Oh snap! He plans a way to distract Won Song so that the chief and other officers can evacuate. Li Du turns himself into bait. A barrage of gunfire erupts in the police station. While the team is trying to escape, Won Song shoots the chief, but he gets him to safety, and the blood trail from the injury becomes a clue for Won Song. Li Du goes back to the car to get ammunition from Beck. Beck is angry that he isn't allowed to go with him. He tries to break free and get into the action when Wong stumbles up, tagging along. Won Song follows the blood trail to where the chief is hiding. The female officer behind him takes advantage of his distraction and fires a shot that grazes his face. The bullet ignites Won Song's rage, and he unleashes a chaotic attack. He gets closer and closer to where the female officer and his comrades are hiding. The gunshots jolt Li Du awake from a haunting flashback. He knows his comrades need him. Like a hunting dog released into familiar territory, he races toward the sound of gunfire. He quickly finds out where his teammates are in danger. Hanging by a thread, Li Du arrives, resolute, and puts 2 bullets in Won Song's legs. Li Du saves his fellow officers and shoots Won Song decisively. The criminal falls to the ground, hit by Li Du's bullets. Li Du warns him to drop the gun. Shaking with fear, he surrenders, raising the gun and placing it on the table. The team seizes the opportunity to move to safety, but Won Song, restless and crazed, slowly crawls toward them. At that moment, Li Du takes a step and doesn't see Won Song. Frantically looking around and following the blood trail, they have crawled all the way to the squad. He is raising the gun to kill everyone. Suddenly, Li Du flashes back to his past, to having to choose between taking one life to save others. Finally, he snaps back to reality and makes a decision he won't regret. He unloads several shots before Won Song can pull the trigger. This is what makes him a hero and who he is. The reporter has accidentally captured this on the camera, and Beck has also witnessed it. After everything is over, the reporter takes the video to the newsroom. After the boss finishes watching it, he is shocked, not expecting his staff to get hold of such a shocking video. He says to himself, the reporter is convinced that there are hidden circumstances in the affair and that the gun is not ordinary, and even the Gozawan affair. This is probably a hot topic, so he says to him, if you get me 1 or 2 more exclusive news, then I will give you a fixed position with a nice office with an amazing view. The perfect bribe. Who wouldn't be tempted by that? Of course, he agreed. As for Li Du, you'd think after this incident, he'd be praised for saving so many police officers, but instead, he finds himself in a prison cell early in the morning, being interrogated like a criminal. 2 unpleasant police officers want to know where Li Du got the ammunition and what Beck's relationship is to him. According to Beck's statement, Li Du took the bullets from his car, from a box Beck intended to hand over to the police. Li Du slowly replies that he and Beck met by chance, and because of the emergency, he asked him for help. The 2 officers don't believe him and sarcastically mock Li Du, saying, your actions were a little too harsh. Also, they brought up the past, and mentioned Li Du had killed 99 people. They even said that the whole reason for taking the job as a cop was that he enjoyed killing and that killing 99 people wasn't enough. Is that why you decided to take this job? Li Du is clearly annoyed and tells the 2 officers to show some respect, but they seem intent on taunting him. Thankfully, the chief barges in and tells Li Du to get out, but the 2 officers try to stop him, saying he used illegal ammunition. The chief loses it with the unreasonable officers, yelling, investigate what? Didn't you watch the surveillance footage? He saved 30 officers. The officer is unfazed and doubles down. threatening to transfer Lee Do to the disciplinary committee. The chief is so angry that he takes off his coat and throws it down, shouting, "If you do that, you'll have to arrest me first. This is an order. Discipline me first, you dogs." He does not take their BS. Finally, he's released. As he walks out of the gate, he sees a crowd of reporters waiting. Luckily, his uncle arrives just in time and gets him into a car, escaping the noisy swarm. On the way home, his uncle, worried about him, scolds him, begging him not to get involved in the gun case anymore. He just smiles and listens. He returns home, troubled, quickly taking a pill and thinking about the officer's words from that morning. Painful memories. He must be exhausted. The next morning at school, Young Dong is dragged to the bathroom, looking scared. The bullies order Young Dong to punch Eugene, and they want him to hit him hard. Eugene looks at him in horror, not expecting Young Dong to do this to him. Young Dong looks at Eugene sadly as he is warned, "Bring your mother's ID now." During lunchtime, Eugene is bullied again. They dump food on his head. Eugene can only endure it without a word, silently changing clothes and wringing out his shirt, frustrated. He glances up and sees Young Dong rushing to bring the bully something, tripping in his haste. The two look at each other, unable to say a word. Thinking he can find peace at home, he's wrong. The bullies keep harassing him with a barrage of text messages. Exhausted, Eugene goes outside to take out the trash and gets a package. Curious, he eagerly opens it. It's a gun. He looks at himself in the mirror and smiles sinisterly. Meanwhile, Lee Do has received his disciplinary notice, suspending him for 3 months. He goes to the police station and asks Officer Jang if he's identified the guy who ran away from Won Sung's house. Everyone is hesitant to answer because he's been suspended. His uncle speaks up, telling them to just answer the question. Seeing the awkward situation, he says, "Tell me, I want to know." Finally, Officer Jang replies, "I went and didn't see the guy and he was gone." Lee Do is confused because he remembers tying him to a utility pole. He wants to see the license plate and the route of the car. The officer traces the number to 15N2335. Lee Do has seen that car before. In the surveillance footage, everyone recognizes the name Lee Do tied up, Yute. He's a punk who is always causing trouble in the neighborhood, recently released from prison and working for Sukho. This guy used to be Lee Do's suspect, who was arrested with Detective SEO. Lee Do remembers and calls Detective SEO, wanting to know where Sukho is now. He wants to go there. Before leaving, he asks Officer Jang to find all information about Moon Beck. Then he drives off, looking cool. Driving for a few minutes, Sukho's men block Lee Do from entering, but Sukho tells them to step aside. Lee Do sits down and gets to the main issue, asking Sukho if he's dealing guns. He asks seriously, but Sukho laughs, thinking Lee Do is crazy. "Do you think I have the time to bring trouble on myself? Look at what my men took out, that's proof there are no guns." He shows that they had no guns in their pocket. Lee Do then takes out a photo, asking if he knows this person. Sukho honestly says he doesn't know him. Lee Do doesn't believe him, since he heard that he works for him. Sukho replies nervously, "I have a lot of men under me. How can I remember them all?" Finally, Lee Do can't get anything out of him. So before leaving, he warns Sukho, "If I find evidence that you're dealing guns, you know what the consequences will be." He then leaves and goes to the company, asking around for the person on the business card Moon Beck gave Lee Do earlier, but he can't find any information. Luckily, Officer Jang reports that Moon Beck is staying at an address. Lee Do arrives there and decides to call him and meet him. The two go to a restaurant, and Lee Do seriously asks about Moon Beck's identity. He willingly tells him, "I have cancer. I only have 6 months left to live." He shows Lee Do the scars from surgery. He also stated that his life is really hard while battling diseases. Seeing how exhausting life is when battling illness, he decided to give up and get a gun to end it all. Lee Do asks where he got the ammunition. Moon Beck opens up, "I happened to see a strange website that said they'd give me a free gun. I was wondering if it was a scam, so I clicked on it. A few days later, I actually got a package, but the frustrating thing is it only had ammunition." Lee Do is curious and wants to see the website, but Moon Beck shows him and says the website has been taken down. He also mentions an important detail. In the package that was delivered, there was a list of addresses of people who ordered guns like me, but I threw that piece of paper away. Lee Do says how he wishes he had that info, and Moon Beck says, "It's okay, I have memorized that list." Lee Do suggests that he write it down. Moon Beck does so, and Lee Do is shocked when one of the addresses is the house of the woman he often helps. Lee-do immediately speeds off to the woman's house. Beck follows him. They don't know that she's already in the parking lot, waiting for the president. When his car arrives, she wants to ask him to step out of the car and talk to her for a moment. But he scoffs at her and tells the driver to drive her away. This kind old woman only wanted the president to say sorry. Was that so hard, President? He doesn't listen and tells the driver to run her over. Terrified, she retreats, then, filled with overwhelming resentment, pulls out a gun and points it at the car. Turns out she also received that package. Overwhelmed by all the things, she couldn't help but pull the trigger. All the resentment from her son's death fuels her, and she relentlessly shoots the president, berating him for not knowing her son, because he cut corners and forced her son to overwork, leading to his painful death. She is now consumed by rage, and even though he begs her to spare his life, even utters an apology, his words are too late. She shoots until he's dead. After, she calls Lee-do, happily and sadly telling him, "I got the apology. I also know what I did wrong. My last wish is to go home and cook a last meal for my son." After completing this, Yute arrives. At this time, Lee-do rushes to the woman's house, calling repeatedly, but she doesn't answer. He gently opens the door and enters. He senses that someone else is there. He glances at the mirror and is holding a knife. Lee-do grabs a vase and slams it into his head. Yute confidently opens the door, unafraid of Lee-do, simply because he has more allies, not forgetting to take a picture of him as a souvenir. Impatient, Lee-do asks Yute where the woman is, but he ignores him and signals to his comrades. Lee wonders if Sukho ordered this. Yute impatiently takes out a gun and threatens him. No time for games. Lee-do takes the gun and threatens to really shoot them. But when Lee-do takes and fires at these guys, nothing happens. He realized the gun was unloaded. Then the gang jumps Lee-do, and he's holding his own. Yute sees that the situation is not good and tells his comrades outside to come in, but Yute doesn't know that they've already been taken care of by Beck. While Beck is sitting, waiting outside, he knows he needs to do something to spice things up. So he gets out of the car and calmly approaches the gangster's car. He forcefully opens the door and puts on a cute act, advising them not to park here. Suddenly, a message from Lee-do sends a photo to the gangsters. Beck glances at it and happily walks away. The gang realizes he's seen them and decides they have to kill him. Everyone gets out of the car. Beck knows this is coming, so he gets happy, slowly getting on his bike and speeding toward those people just to scare them. The gang angrily chases after him, but it's too late. Beck has escaped. He goes for a drive to take a break and comes back for one final push. Everyone is still very motivated. The ones who are still awake, he will kindly knock out. Inside the house, Lee-do finds the woman in the closet. He tells her to wait a moment while he takes out all the people who try to stop him. After cleaning up, he rushes to carry her to Beck's car. He drives, reassuring her that she'll be okay and that she needs to hold on. He remembers the last time they talked was when she was in an emergency. He feels so much pain, and he quickly drives her to an operating room. Lee-do remembers their relationship. He was on patrol when he saw her collapsing in the cold weather, holding a sign protesting for her son. He rushed over to help her and took her home. Lee-do hoped she wouldn't stand for too long and take care of her health. She happily nodded and went into the house to bring him a jar of kimchi, hoping he would accept it because giving it to him reminded her of her son. Back in the present, he remembers that the mastermind behind this is Sukho, so he angrily heads for Sukho's territory. He brutally beats Sukho's men. The people who were beaten by him at the woman's house were taken to the hospital. Lee-do asks Detective Seo to help him search the bodies of these men for the list. He finds it and brings it to the current place. Both of them share a plan. Lee-do proves to Detective Seo that the list of addresses matches the recipients. This is organized crime. The guns are being delivered to these people because someone wants to exploit their situations, hoping they'll pull the trigger. After Detective Seo understands the situation, he reports back to the police station. The people who receive the weapons. They have no money and zero knowledge of guns. They are ordinary citizens. This plan is a lot larger than they thought. Someone wants to exploit their circumstances and deliver the gun, so they should push the people to pull the trigger. The receivers would want to seek out additional weapons to defend themselves. This is how Lee-do connected the dots. He said to them, that's why Yute knew the woman had a gun and came to her house. All of the addresses. The chief wonders how they got this information. A person speaks up, maybe their phones are infected with malware, allowing others to monitor all call logs, messages, and personal information. The chief orders everyone to verify the facts. Find these people and make sure they match the addresses on the list. If they have a gun, confiscate it. Everyone then leaves. The chief calls Detective SEO to stay. He knows that Lee Do found this clue. Detective SEO admits. He asks Detective SEO to send a message to Lee Do, saying that he did a good job, but to please not get into any more trouble, he's already suspended. Right now, Lee Do returns to the hospital. Officer Jang calls to report that Moon Beck's information is completely true. He has terminal cancer and used to work at Dogon Company. Hearing this, Lee Do sees Moon Beck leisurely waiting for him to return. Lee Do gently tells Moon Beck that it's not his problem. So why is he getting involved? Moon Beck is surprised that Lee Do has this side of him. Lee Do says, if you're grateful, all you have to do is say thank you. Lee Do sighs regretfully, not remembering what the woman said in the car. Moon Beck replies that she said, now I can close my eyes and go in peace. Don't try to save me. He's also curious why Lee Do treats her like his own mother. If she really was his mother, it would be heartbreaking. Lee Do says that she treated me like her own son, and my mother died when I was young. Moon Beck seems to sympathize with him, even though he's not sure if he has a mother. He had an unhappy childhood. At birth, he was abandoned by his mother in the freezing snow and then fell into the hands of a woman who was a human trafficker. But his mother was a victim. He was forced to sell both of his eyes for them to use the money. There were a lot of families to adopt the kid, but they would always return. Then he met a terrible family. Finally, they sent him to America. Before leaving, he was told by this woman that America is the land of opportunity, so live a good life and be the best. If you want to love, you must smile unconditionally. And remember that she is not your mother, so don't remember her. He thought his life would be a little easier when he got to America, but it turned out to be an even more brutal hell. He was about to be dissected so they could take his organs and sell them, but the FBI suddenly raided and rescued him. With an amazing rescue. Tragic, Moon Beck snaps back to reality, recovering and telling Lee Do not to pity him. Lee Do just tells him to go rest, but Moon Beck doesn't want to go home. He'll wait here with him. The next morning at school, Eugene is cornered by the head bully again, threatening him, make sure you wait for me at the karaoke place. Eugene angrily shoves his hand away and coldly says, why should I? Before he can enter the classroom, the bully pulls him back and slams him into the door. Annoyed, he grits his teeth, saying, why is this dog starting to resist? Eugene doesn't want to do what he says, but he keeps forcing him to obey, threatening to post the pictures he's taken. Things get more tense when the teacher speaks up from a distance. Why aren't you in class? The bell rang. Hearing this, the bully releases Eugene. When Eugene makes his way back, he ends up taking the seat. He doesn't stop, demanding Eugene answer his questions, hitting his chair as a warning. He uses a paper knife to threaten Eugene, telling him to be his slave, to stand up and call the teacher a whore, pushing the knife into his shirt, making Eugene unable to bear it and violently stand up, startling everyone. The teacher asks what's going on, but Eugene silently turns to look at the jerk who's been tormenting him, saying each word clearly with resentment and hatred he's been holding back. Stop it. I told you to stop. Jerk. Stop it. He even throws the table. He snaps, loses all control, and screams, smashing his head into the bully. That was the final straw for Eugene. Meanwhile, Suk-ho is furious, taking shrapnel even though he was just sitting still. Just because of Yute, a guy he barely knows, Lee Do came and destroyed his territory. Frustrated, his right-hand man hands him a piece of paper and says this guy works for Jong Man. I personally saw this guy behind Jong Man when we took care of Director Kim, he says. Suk-ho is genuinely shocked. Meanwhile, Lee Do and Moon Beck are at the hospital, staying with the woman as her guardians. The two are sitting in front of the hospital room, and listening to the news is reporting on the shooting, causing fear for all. Isn't it funny how the world can change in an instant? Lee Do sadly says. Long ago, there was a peaceful village. One day, a man left a gun in the town square and left. Soon after, the gun disappeared, and the village began to change greatly as more and more people died. The people in the village didn't trust each other and stood in long lines outside the gun shop to buy a gun. Everyone thought guns were justice, power, and wealth, when in fact they are our destruction. Thinking about this story, Lee Do asks Moon Beck why he isn't spending his time doing what he wants since he doesn't have long to live. Moon Beck smiles and said that it's probably that he might be afraid of the pain. At this moment, Jong Man's gang arrives at the hospital, secretly planning to see Yute. But seeing the police and nurses guarding him, they give up and start to stress. Who did this to their man? Upon hearing that the next half of Yutae's life will be spent in a wheelchair, Jong Man angrily walks to the elevator. He sees a photo of the guy who caused Yutae to be like that. As if by fate, the elevator opens and 3 pairs of eyes meet. It's their acquaintance with an incident long time ago. This isn't their first rodeo, and everything is still tense. Jong Man pulled a secret blade out of their pocket while their hands were in their pockets, and they were going to attack Yutae, but the two were not going to let that happen. As the two sides meet, all Moon Beck thinks is to come and protect Lee Do, and the other side thinks it might be another person coming to meet. Jong Man then puts the knife back and says, "If you don't attack us, we won't attack you, and if you let us go, we'll let you go too," is what the group thinks. The elevator doors open, and with a tense atmosphere, Lee Do and Moon Beck leave. After arriving at the station, Officer Jang arrives to pick up Lee Do. Moon Beck says goodbye and turns to leave, lighting a cigarette and doing a 360 of his surroundings. At this time, Jong Man's gang follows Lee Do's car. Just as they thought everything would go smoothly, Suk-ho kept calling Jong Man. Frustrated, he finally answers the phone. Suk-ho, sounding very angry, tells Jong Man to come to him immediately. This is probably an order, so Jong Man is forced to listen and turns the car around, knowing that this is going to be a big mission shortly. In the parking garage, Moon Beck, with a cool demeanor, has returned to his true identity, returning to his apartment with his luxury car and his men. Moon Beck has had enough of the people who say they talk about Jong Man. They can just go to him and not drag other innocent people with them. If the operation is exposed, we're done for. Blackie suggests we inform Jack and pull back immediately. Revise the plan. Moon Beck, clearly unfazed, calmly injects himself with something looks like he's got some habits. He barely acknowledges the guy's concerns. Then, almost casually, he picks up a gun and tells the guy to step closer. Before the guy can even react, bam, Moon Beck just iced him. No hesitation, no discussion. He turns to the rest of the crew and says, "I make the decisions here. Don't tell me what to do. Now find me desperate people who want guns, and don't screw it up this time." So there you have it. Moon Beck is the puppet master behind all those recent gun distribution incidents. He's the real villain of this whole game. Now we flash back to Moon Beck's younger days. He single-handedly hunted down 2 guys who had previously assaulted him. He strolled right up to them, started with some casual small talk like nothing ever happened, and then bam, he sent them straight to the afterlife. The scene then cuts to a gun deal going down. The moment those shots fired by Moon Beck rang out, chaos erupted. Everyone freaked out and started pointing guns at each other. Apparently, the buyers were trying to stiff Jack's guys on the payment. Bad move. Jack's crew immediately took them out. They went to investigate the initial gunfire and found the buyers dead, courtesy of Moon Beck himself. Jack was strangely impressed by this kid, a young, reckless punk with a gun wrapped around his injured hand. Moon Beck was unconscious for 3 weeks. When he finally woke up, eyes bandaged, he asked where he was. Jack just smiled and said, "This is your home now." Moon Beck wanted to know why Jack was doing this for him. Jack replied that he liked him. Seeing a kid, bandages on his hand, charging right into the lion's den with a cheap handgun, really struck a chord with him. He saw something special in Moon Beck. As a gift, Jack gave him blue eyes. Moon Beck looked into the mirror with those new, mesmerizing eyes. After Moon Beck adjusted to his new life, Jack took him to his gun base. He shows he's training to teach Moon Beck and has him work for him. Moon Beck wonders why Jack chose someone as weak as him. Jack simply hands him a gun, an admission that with this in his hand, he'll be different. Moon Beck confidently aims the gun at the target and fires. His life is forever changed. Back in the present, Moon Beck removes his disguise, revealing those real blue eyes. Meanwhile, Jong Man is summoned to Suk-ho's office. Before he can even figure out what's going on, Suk-ho slaps him across the face and accuses him of being involved with guns. "The cops came this morning because they suspect I'm dealing guns. And there's a picture of your boy Yutae tied up." Jong Man immediately denies any involvement. "I don't know anything. He's not one of my guys." Suk-ho is laying down the law with Jong Man. "Tell me the truth, right now, or you're a dead man." Jong Man continues to deny any involvement, claiming he's completely innocent. Yutae does the same. Gong Suk-ho seems relieved at this and orders Jong Man to leave. As soon as Jong Man is gone, Suk-ho's henchmen appear. One of them, who clearly doesn't buy Jong Man's story. "That guy's lying through his teeth," he says. Suk-ho's face darkens. He's definitely plotting something. Meanwhile, at school, Eugene is getting the crap kicked out of him. Again, these bullies are relentless. They even dump a tray of food over his head while he's eating. "You're a pervert who films us. You're done," they threaten. Eugene just glares at them, saying nothing. It looks like a full-on beatdown is about to commence when a teacher shows up. "What's going on here?" he asks. The head bully smoothly replies, "The floor's just slippery. Nothing to worry about." The teacher seems to buy it. He turns to Eugene. "Are you okay? You really made a mess." Eugene, clearly fed up, says sarcastically, "Do I look okay?" Then he grabs his tray and storms off. The only person who's ever really gotten his back is Young Dong. Back at the police station, Lee Do and the captain are going through the list they got from Moon Beck. 20 pages, the captain exclaims. They must have shipped hundreds of guns across the country. He's clearly overwhelmed. Lee Do thinks they can get more information from Moon Beck. He texts him, "Did you have a chance to look at the list?" Moon Beck replies honestly, "Of course I did." Lee Do cautiously warns Moon Beck to be careful and asks him to report anything he finds. Moon Beck agrees and promises to help if he needs it. Just as the conversation ends, one of Moon Beck's guys reports that Lee Do has been following him for days. "Should we take him out?" Moon Beck, calmly cleaning his gun, says, "Not yet. I need to verify something first." Moon Beck is gearing up to meet with some friends, and it's shrouded in mystery. His car pulls up in the middle of a deserted street, right in front of a late-night diner where Eugene and Young Dong are grabbing a bite. Young Dong asks, "I heard you cursed out Song Joon and threw a chair at him? Aren't you scared? They'll be even worse next time." Eugene replies, "It's because you guys always take it like pushovers that they keep bullying you." Young Dong is impressed by his friend's bravery. Eugene smiles, "You hit really hard, too." Young Dong apologizes for what happened, but Eugene says, "I understand you perfectly. If you're upset, punch, kick, curse, do whatever you want." While they're talking, a massive brawl erupts nearby. Dozens of guys are throwing punches in the street. Moon Beck, who's nearby, glances up at the shooting range on the second floor. He walks in, grabs a BB gun, and walks straight to the group of guys that are fighting, shooting them. Moon Beck, without a second thought, steps into the fray and starts wailing on the thugs. "Why you damn hoodlums making a mess of things?" he shouts, announces that it's Moon Beck here and starts beating them all up. Eugene is standing there, witnessing the whole heroic display, his eyes wide with admiration. He rushes over to Moon Beck and asks him if he can teach him how to shoot. Without saying a word, the two men head up to the shooting range. As he squeezed the trigger, Eugene says he felt more confident and shot a few magazines into the targets, as if to relieve the stress and suppression in his heart. When he got home, Eugene greeted his mom and went straight to his room. His mom brings him fruit, but he doesn't even acknowledge her, which makes her feel a bit sad. She figures he's grown up and doesn't need her help anymore. Eugene reassures her, "You've done a great job. You've given me everything I need." Hearing that, Eugene's mom smiles, relieved that her son appreciates everything she's done for him. He then asks her, "When are people usually the saddest?" She gently replies, "For me, it's when you're sick or when you're going through a hard time." She says that's how all parents are. Nothing is more important than their children. The next morning, at Moon Beck's headquarters, one of his men reports, Jong Man is starting to collect the guns from the addresses he has. Moon Beck asks, "What about Old Man Kim's place?" The subordinate replies, "No one's approached the warehouse yet." Moon Beck is annoyed. These guys are too slow. Meanwhile, at his office, Suk-ho is going ballistic because he can't figure out the password to unlock a phone. He's yelling at his men when he gets a strange phone call. Suk-ho decides to answer it, curious to see who's on the other end. "Hello," says Moon Beck. Gong Suk-ho is furious that someone is speaking English to him, but he also wants to see what the other side will say. Moon Beck sees what he's doing and switches to English. "Find the box with the red label." Suk-ho enters the warehouse and is shocked to see that every box has a red label on it. He opens one and is horrified to find that it's full of guns. Moon Beck emphasizes, "Those guns. Don't believe me? Try firing one." All those shootings recently used guns from that warehouse. Hearing that, Suk-ho is stunned and doesn't believe what he's seeing. Moon Beck continues, "Thanks to you killing Director Kim, those guns have been piling up, and I'm in a tough spot." Moon Beck reveals that someone is desperate to find those guns. When Suk-ho asks who, he replies, "Jong Man." Suk-ho is shocked again and asks, "You know Jong Man?" Moon Beck doesn't know who he is and has no idea what he's up to, then advises Suk-ho to be careful and hangs up. At the same time, the guns are ready to be distributed everywhere. They arrive at the drop-off point for the delivery people and demand that they take a photo of the deliveries and send them to them before they get paid. Beck receives confirmation from his men that the packages are ready to go, and he seems genuinely thrilled. There are so many ways to deliver in Korea, he says with a twisted smile. Eugene is leaving home for school. His mom runs after him, reminding him to come home early because she's going to buy meat and cook his favorite dish. Without saying a word, he turns around and hugs his mom tightly before leaving. Something bad is definitely about to happen. You can just feel it in the air. The packages are being delivered, scattered throughout every corner of the city. Their plan is progressing step by step. Beck receives a report that the packages are being delivered according to plan and that he'll receive regular updates. Beck hangs up and goes to find Lee-do. Lee-do asks Beck about the list. Beck hands it over, saying, "I usually don't trust people, but I feel like I can trust you." He also points out suspicious information on the list, including the names of high school students. Back at school, Song-joon and his gang are plotting their revenge against Eugene. They've locked the side entrance to the school, trapping him. They're still figuring out what to do to really make Eugene pay. One of them suggests using trash cans from the bathroom to teach Eugene a lesson. Song-joon scoffs and orders them to go get Eugene's backpack instead. Eugene is called to the teacher's office. The class president urges him to hurry up. Eugene looks at the gun he put in his backpack that morning, his face filled with fear. As soon as he leaves the classroom, one of Song-joon's men sneaks into the classroom. At this moment, Lee-do calls his partner, ordering them to head to Eugene's high school immediately, because one of the addresses on the list is a student who has a gun. Lee-do's partner acknowledges the order and immediately makes a U-turn. As soon as he hangs up, Lee-do calls the school. By chance, the person who answers is Eugene's homeroom teacher. He explains that one of the students at the school might be involved in the case he's investigating. However, he doesn't have any information about this student other than a phone number. The teacher is alarmed and asks for the phone number so she can help with the investigation. Just as she's about to get the number, Eugene arrives. The teacher hangs up the phone and promises to call Lee-do back when she has more information. She tells Eugene to come back later, as she has something to discuss with him, but she has an urgent matter to attend to right now. Eugene returns to the classroom to find Young-dong being bullied by Song-joon and his gang. Enraged, he immediately runs back to the classroom to find his backpack, but the gun is gone. It turns out that Song-joon's minion found the gun while carrying out his orders and gave it to Song-joon. Song-joon pulls out the gun in the classroom and taunts Eugene, mocking him for thinking he could use this cheap toy against him. He points the gun directly at Eugene's head, trying to scare him. Eugene is terrified because he knows it's a real gun. Eugene begs him not to shoot. Song-joon sneers that he's a coward and tells him to stay still. Just as he's about to pull the trigger, a gunshot rings out from another classroom. Song-joon is confused. He didn't even pull the trigger yet. He hesitantly tests the gun and realizes that Eugene had replaced the BBs with steel bullets. They glare at Eugene, enraged, asking him if he's trying to kill them and threatening to blow him away. Just then, the teacher checks the list of phone numbers when she realizes that the number belongs to Young-dong. In a fit of rage, Young-dong sends the bully friend to the afterlife and wildly sprays bullets. The students scream and run like cockroaches. Turns out that Young-dong had locked all of the exits. He walks to Eugene and gives him a gun with steel bullets, determined to turn this place into a graveyard for all the students and put an end to school violence. The cowardly head bully runs away and disappears. The students desperately look for a way to escape, but he locked the doors long ago. At first, they were laughing, but now they are too scared that they pee in their pants. Thankfully, Lee-do and Beck arrive just in time. They find a way to break down a door and rescue a group of trapped students. Lee-do is determined to delve deeper into the school to stop the situation from escalating. Young-dong finds where the head bully and his gang are hiding. He calls out their names, demanding that they come out and face death because there's no escape. He offers a deal. If the head bully and his gang come out and take the bullets, he'll spare the other students. The teacher, who is hiding nearby, speaks up, asking to talk to him. Young-dong is indignant that the teacher is only speaking up now, after he had been turned away several times before. He doesn't want to waste any more time and immediately searches the bookshelf. The head bully is within his sights. Fortunately, Lee-do appears just in time, knocking Young-dong out with one punch. He drops his guard and the head bully. As Lee-do turns his head, Eugene fires a bullet towards the bully and hits him. As he sees Gyujin holding a gun and pointing it at his classmate, Lee-do slowly approaches. I don't know what pain you've had to face at school, but acting out of control like this will only hurt you in the end. Lee-do continues to gently coax him, getting closer to the student. Just tell me everything you've had to endure. Gyujin finally breaks down and starts crying. He's been facing so much school violence and bullying from his friends for so long. His best friend Youngdong has also been arrested by the police. He sees Moon Beck sitting there, as if he were expecting Gyujin to hurt his classmate. Gyujin's mom rushes to the scene. Seeing his mom standing there crying, he's relieved that he didn't hurt his classmate earlier, that there's still a chance to fix things. Lee-do, however, looking at Moon Beck now, remembers everything Moon Beck has been doing. He recalls that the student was a high school student holding a gun in his hands. To the list that contained the names of all delivery addresses was thrown away by Moon Beck. Lee-do texts the other detectives after the shooting, telling them to prepare to arrest him. With a fleeting glance, Moon Beck immediately disappears, and everyone starts splitting up to look for him. Lee-do also receives information about a Moon Beck that's completely different from the person they've been meeting. On his way back to his apartment complex, Lee-do receives a package containing the addresses of the people who ordered the guns. When he opens it, he finds a gun included. Since the series of shootings started happening across the country, the public is very worried about whether there are more guns out there. The police even have to hold a press conference to reassure the public. The mobsters, since they knew there were guns outside, started calling emergency meetings and banned the use of guns. Though they know it's the modern age, the group agreed that the use of guns would result in them being killed. Suk-ho doesn't know how to deal with his pile of guns. After attending the mobsters' meeting, where everyone agreed on using knives, he decides to call Lee-do, asking him to come to a construction site and start surrendering the guns to the police. He ends up getting a beating because he pointed a gun at Lee-do before firing it to see if it was real. When asked where he bought them, Suk-ho says he bought them from a drug dealer named Director Kim, who sold them cheaply to him the night he went to the nightclub. When asked where he is, Suk-ho can't reveal it because he doesn't know. Lee-do twists Suk-ho's arm until he reveals that Jong Man is likely involved. Lee-do asks why Suk-ho is telling him all of this. He tells him that he is about to get shot, so he is finding a protector, which is a no-brainer. Since the list of addresses for the gun recipients was given to the police, the officers began confiscating the guns, but they could only recover half of the guns. The police officers begin meeting to try to figure out how to recover the guns as quickly as possible. Since the guns were leaked out, Moon Beck received a report that Suk-ho had fearfully turned the guns over to the police, while Jong Man was still missing. Shouldn't they be going around shooting people by now? But instead of using the guns to riot, Suk-ho and Jong Man are working together to sell the guns piecemeal, earning a fortune and adding money laundering to their services. The money is piling up thanks to the profits from selling guns. Suk-ho is planning to make a big deal soon, so he needs Jong Man to work harder to eliminate the other gun supplier, Director Kim. The increasingly large revenues, however, made Jong Man and his men greedy. They want to strike out on their own to take everything for themselves. Because Suk-ho has not been able to get more guns, he goes to the police station to report that Jong Man has some relation to the provider of guns named Director Kim, so that he can be free from the illegal trading of guns and money laundering. Since Lee-do found out the identity of Moon Beck, the other gun supplier, his superiors immediately issued orders to find this person's identity. Meanwhile, at the police station, the police chief inadvertently learns that a daughter has been needing money to do something, but then was scammed out of it by investors. To find Jong Man, the police followed Suk-ho to the location of the trade. Hearing that his boss was coming, Jong Man immediately had his henchmen put the guns away. The henchmen look out of breath like they just got out of a fight. Along the way, he found a famous bakery, so Suk-ho brought some snacks for his younger sibling to eat. After seeing each other for a little while, they took the bag of bread, but Suk-ho asked his men to get out of the way quickly so that the two of them could have a private discussion. The two talked about the director, Kim, who handed out the guns to the two of them. The younger henchman is hiding Director Gu somewhere in the warehouse. Suk-ho put his hand in his pocket. Jong Man thought he was pulling out a gun, but pulled out a cell phone and said that was Old Man Kim's. He said the henchman has no idea of the password or how to access Old Man Kim's partners, so that they can make money. Suk-ho wants Jong Man to bring him 10 fingers from Old Man Kim, but is only testing him and knows that the henchman is hiding Old Man Kim in there. He calls Lee-do and tells them not to implicate him in the case. As Suk-ho leaves, Old Man Kim asks Jong Man what the guy just said. Jong Man asks Director Kim if he trusts him, because Suk-ho wants him to bring Old Man Kim's 10 fingers to him. That night, Jong Man takes his men out as if he's planning to get Old Man Kim's 10 fingers. The men report back to Suk-ho. He tells his men to follow very carefully. The henchmen wonder why Suk-ho is so worried about Jong Man, but say that they will still follow through. That is precisely what Suk-ho is worried about. He is worried that Jong Man has been cleaning his crime scenes very well, which is why he is planning to eliminate him by the use of the police. The men follow Jong Man to a vacant lot and pretend to dig up Old Man Kim's body in order to fool Suk-ho until they get to the public bathhouse. Suk-ho tells them when Jong Man leaves to go to his office to speed things up. Suk-ho's men chase Jong Man off, reminding him that Suk-ho is waiting for Old Man Kim's 10 fingers. Jong Man doesn't say much and leaves the room and then the bathhouse. The police have been waiting outside for a long time, waiting to monitor Jong Man's whereabouts. They are all in front of Suk-ho's house to protect him, but they don't know that the person who appears inside to meet Suk-ho is Old Man Kim. It was Jong Man who came up with this plan, so that Old Man Kim could deal with Suk-ho. "Hello, my son." Jong Man brings an even bigger gun to meet Suk-ho's men. "I'm sure this is big enough for you guys." Suk-ho's men are then killed by Jong Man's giant gun. Old Man Kim is reveling in the fact that Suk-ho stabbed him in the back, but now he is being stabbed in the back by Jong Man. The two don't say much and start shooting at each other, causing the police to enter quickly. But Jong Man is at Suk-ho's house collecting all the dirty money to give as retirement gifts to his men. Old Man Kim and Suk-ho are yelling at each other, "Damn you!" But they can't shoot anymore because they're dead. When the police come in, they realize that the real mastermind is Jong Man. In order to find out the location of Jong Man, Lee Do has to wear a bulletproof vest and bring his gun to the location of his base to give the retirement money that he just stole to his men. Jong Man calls his henchmen and asks how things are going on Suk-ho's side. They are almost finished, but they don't know that they are in danger because Lee Do is here. He gradually enters inside and shoots anyone he meets. The noise quickly startles Jong Man and his henchmen, but Lee Do is very calm and shoots each of them. However, he is still unable to capture Jong Man. Lee Do immediately runs up to the roof, opens the scope, and immediately shoots out the tires of Jong Man's car, causing it to lose control. Immediately, he wakes up and says the names of the other members of his henchmen and starts running away. Lee Do aims directly at it, just needing one shot, and that Jong Man has moved on to his final resting place in the police station. After this incident, the police took down 3 gun kingpins at once and recovered many different types of guns. Beck is extremely frustrated because the heads of his gun trade are being arrested. It's hard to get a little fun out of these people. The police chief is looking at his daughter's body in the morgue. He can't believe that his gentle daughter, who always clings to him and calls him dad, is lying here. The feeling of losing his beloved daughter makes him unable to restrain his emotions, and he collapses. Meanwhile, Lee Do is rushing back to search for information about a gun at the scene. He quickly tears off the tag related to the gun and goes to meet a friend who sells electronic components. This thing is actually a listening chip installed in the gun. The friend says that there must be something else to support the eavesdropping. Lee Do starts to check the guns that the police have recovered. Indeed, under the covers were listening devices that had been hidden incredibly well. On the other side, Beck is starting a new plan with a reporter. What if everyone in Korea had a gun to use? The reporter doesn't think it's possible, but Beck starts talking about how a gun is fired with a very loud sound that attracts everyone around. One shot in a group where everyone has a gun, what effect would that have? Beck gives a small gift to the reporter, saying that his job is to shoot as beautifully as possible at the upcoming event. After checking everything, Lee Do discovers a lot of listening devices placed inside the guns. He starts going back to base and tells everyone that there are people from a giant organization mainly operating in the black market. A colleague asks Lee Do if he remembers the case of a man who hanged himself before. According to investigations, he had a criminal record about 2 to 3 years ago. He sold abandoned children to foreign brokers. Finding bullets on his roof is proof that he is a man who is willing to abandon his country and rebel. Lee Do doesn't know about that, but what he found were tracking devices with eavesdropping capabilities, and he was able to locate the person who fired the gun. If they can trace back the signal from these things, the police can definitely find the real lair of those crazies. Before he can even find it, Beck is bored and teases the police a bit. He orders everyone to leave, knowing that Lee Do will find those chips soon enough. He starts talking about each address where someone will fire a gun, and is curious to see what Beck will do next to stop those who have guns. At address number 27, the person who is about to fire a gun is the head of the police station. He is sitting in his car, listening to the news about a loan scam, where some of the victims were unable to get their money back, and self-destruction. The head of the police station, when he receives the notice that his daughter is gone, seems to want to deal with the group of loan sharks. As he starts getting out of the car, Lee-do rushes out. The police also quickly track the location of a chip and immediately head to Blue Brown's autonomous region. The head of the police station confidently walks into the loan shark's base, gently holding a microphone up, making the loan sharks think that he is part of a pyramid scheme. He starts talking about his beloved daughter, who, because of a loan, had to commit self-destruction because she was unable to repay the debt. He starts saying the names of everyone in this room, what crimes they have committed, which are all told in great detail. My precious daughter and another innocent person's self-destruction. Today, the loan sharks went crazy and got collared. The head of the police station asks, "What do you want?" He says he wants them to apologize in front of his daughter's memorial picture. Otherwise, no one will be able to leave here today. A gunshot rings out and they start to get scared. People have died, and you don't know how to repent? You're going to die. Thinking back to his daughter begging this group, the head of the police station has really gone crazy and decides not to let go of the guy who caused his daughter to die. As he walks and enjoys the feeling of chasing his prey, the police arrive to stop him. The reporter that Beck hired is here to record this scene and broadcast it live according to his orders. Lee-do arrives just in time to stand in front of the head of the police station and advises him to calm down. But he can't. Lee-do tries to tell him, "Didn't you advise me not to do something foolish that year?" When Lee-do lost his brother that year, he had to try very hard to control himself from shooting that killer. Killing the bad guy isn't the right thing to do because the life of the shooter will also be ruined. Because of that sentence, Lee-do became a police officer. The head of the police station turns around and asks Lee-do how he was able to endure the pain of losing loved ones like this since he was a child. This scene is something that Beck doesn't want to see. Everything he does is to make people become negative and start shooting each other. He leaves the car, immediately grabs a gun, and, along with his men, starts shooting at the police and Lee-do. To protect him, the head of the police station uses his body to shield Lee-do from the bloody shooting. Seeing the head of the police station killed in front of him, the boy from that year can no longer hold back. He is about to act, but the evildoer has shot Lee-do, seriously injuring him to the point of unconsciousness. Seeing the uncle who had comforted him that year lying next to him, Lee-do is powerless and can't do anything. Beck orders the reporter he hired to stand in front of Lee-do. Beck is curious, how many people did the mercenary that you are kill that year? Who did you kill and who did you save? He wonders what justice Lee-do is aiming for when he is also the one who killed people. After speaking, he stands in front of the live camera and announces that he is the mastermind who caused the recent shootings. He will provide guns to everyone for free, regardless of rich or poor. Anyone can take a gun as long as they need it, and he will give them to everyone if they need it. People with unstable minds in Korea are starting to pay attention to Beck's announcement. In the course of the night, the police became chaotic. Lee-do is clinging to life and is taken to the hospital for treatment. Immediately after announcing what he said, Beck takes his hot goods and starts distributing them everywhere. Some people even live stream a review of the unboxing of the gun they just received. The reporter says that if this continues to happen, the possibility is that Korea, which has no guns, will become a terrorist country. And this fear has begun to happen. The sale of BB guns is also thriving because of this, and real guns are being sold at prices. The Korean market is starting to become chaotic, and martial law is likely to be enforced. Throughout Korean history since reunification, people have started to worry about facing a period where guns are rampant. Even the statistics reported by the media show that the number of people who want to legalize guns is as high as 40%. Now, if people don't like each other, they will take out a gun and talk. The protests between those who agree to have guns and those who don't have guns have been taking place, just as the two sides are arguing endlessly, and no one is willing to give in. The potential for fighting in the country is very high. This is the effect that Beck wants to see. Even Nurse Park So-hyun in the hospital is being pressured to the point that she wants to find a gun to attack her colleagues. To legalize guns faster, Beck goes to where the mob gangs gather and deals with those who follow the rules of fighting, where they're only allowed to use knives. It's the age of guns. Why is anyone still playing with the primitive things we used to use back then? Lee-do, after dreaming about the people who had to experience the psychology of facing pain and then dying, wakes up determined. He rushes to find out where Police Chief Joe is. After learning that he has passed away, Lee-do is only thinking about going to find Beck. Since the information about free guns came out, the police are very worried because the country is likely to enact martial law. The people are living in fear as they are constantly facing guns. The situation in the country is more tense than ever as two opposing sides gather in a fairly large group in one area. The colleagues at the hospital and the nurse are arguing that a gun will solve all the problems in the world. Nurse Park, at the hospital, after being cursed and oppressed by her colleagues too much, decides that she is not holding back anymore and takes her gun. If her colleague berates her again, she will make her taste democracy. After seeing the police chief off, Lee Do goes to the area where the protest is taking place and receives an anonymous call. He starts looking around, knowing that it is Moon Beck calling him. He arrives at his office, where there are people who can be said to have been familiar with guns and bullets for a long time. He reiterates the case at the Matchbox apartment, where the first element used by Moon Beck as a psychological experiment was controlled by a police officer, and he found out that the police officer Lee Do had killed many people. He is curious about why he refuses to hold a gun and then implements a plan to see what it will be like if Lee Do holds a gun again. He wonders why he has to test him and curses Moon Beck in front of him as just a cheap merchant who makes money by inciting others. Moon Beck says he just wants to know what it will be like if guns are used freely in this country, and that it is something that helps people relieve the pent-up resentment in their hearts. He brings up the case of the police chief and the old lady. Only guns can help them carry out justice, which is the answer to this world, and that is an equal and democratic society where everyone has a gun. Lee Do does not think so, because when people have guns, they will start harming each other. Moon Beck says he wants to see who is right and wrong and has a truck drive straight down to the protest site, telling everyone to take the guns here for free. The crowd starts getting chaotic over the guns. To chase after Moon Beck, Lee Do has started fighting with his men. This group of soldiers has 10 guys with guns, but not one of them is doing damage. The useless soldiers are everywhere. Seeing the chaos on TV where people are crowding because of guns, Nurse Park is preparing to use her gun to hurt her colleagues. Arriving on the scene, Moon Beck tells the reporter to film it beautifully because everyone will witness how crazy this world is when there are guns. People who watch the news can only shake their heads in dismay at the brain-dead people. But the only thing that Lee Do pays attention to is Moon Beck. He sees someone who misunderstands the resentment and greed in people's hearts about why they hold guns. Lee Do also ignores the situation around him and goes straight to Moon Beck to see what he's like. He pulls out a smoke bomb and throws it on the ground and starts pulling the trigger to see the response in the crowd. After he fires the first shot, someone accidentally shoots Moon Beck before Lee Do can do anything. The shots without eyes accidentally hurt other people, as people start shooting due to the fear that they will be shot as well. Some people's minds are not stable, and they start shooting other people. Lee Do is still not firing a gun. Instead, he runs straight to a boy in the hazy smoke, ignoring Moon Beck with his illusory world. This scene is directly recorded by the reporter, causing the nurse who intended to kill her colleagues to stop. The scene also purifies the wild ambitions of many others and starts spreading quickly. In the deadly shooting that afternoon, a model citizen stood up to protect a young elementary school student, and he kept the young boy safe until the end. And just like that, after the crazy shooting that afternoon, people started commemorating the victims, and the ban on guns was enacted immediately. Now, everyone understands that when people are chaotic and out of control, no one knows whether they are defending themselves or harming others. The guns that were distributed are also actively returned to the police by Nurse Park and the people. However, the reporter still has to face his tragic end because he did not respond to this cleaning woman's pleas in the past. And she has been holding this for so long, and unloads a series of bullets into him without him being able to say a word. After this incident, Lee Do takes the boy he saved in and raises him as if they were uncle and nephew. The movie ends. Thank you for watching.